got my sticker.
And we have
Yes,
a
sir.
water for you too if you need it, Senator
What's
Davis.
that?
We have a water for you if you need it.
Okay. No, I'll just straight up talk.
Greg Cooper, 18.
Hey, Greg.
To go to Claflin or NC State. And how difficult is it being one of the very small number of performers in the legislature?
I can tell you, when I first got there 2 years ago, it's pretty lonely. I mean, there is a tremendous pressure once you become a member of the Senate to conform to the customs and traditions of the institution. You don't make waves. You don't put other senators on the spot. You don't make them take difficult votes. You don't criticize them when they cast a vote that you believe isn't in the best interest of the state of South Carolina. And so, yeah, it's lonely. But guess what? Last couple of years, I've realized that I'm not just one of 46 people up there in the Senate. I've got, 131,000 people back in my district that believe in what I'm doing. And I think a growing number of people throughout South Carolina believe in what the reformers are doing. So it doesn't feel so lonely up there anymore. And what I've talked about, too, the connectivity between legislators and the public, through Twitter and Facebook. And I can't overemphasize how that's revolutionized things. I mean, the ability to communicate information to people in real time. I mean, when I'm taking a vote, on the floor, I'll take this out and I'll tweet on here, we're taking up Senate Bill thus and such, this is what it does. This automatically goes out on Twitter feed to all my Twitter followers. It uploads on my Facebook page. They go ahead and tumble it or spin it out to somebody else. And all of a sudden, in real time, you've got people emailing their legislators on a vote that I just tweeted was about to take place in 10 minutes. So it doesn't feel so lonely up there anymore because the ability to connect with people is so much easier. And it's going to continue to get that way. And I really think if there are some legislators that still don't get Facebook or Twitter or any of those things. They don't know how to log on. They don't believe it's something that's going to last. You all tell me. I bet every single one of you has a Facebook page. I bet every single one of you, the primary way that you communicate about what you're doing with your day, what you're going to do this weekend, what you did past weekend, you upload it and you post on your Facebook page, don't you? I mean, that's the way you communicate. And that's just going to be the way business is done. And there are certain legislators up there that aren't going to change because they feel like it's a fad. And I tell you what, those are going to be people that might not be reelected in 2014 or in 2012. So, anyway, let's answer that question.
My name is Ron Capers, 14.
Again, 14, good Lord. Getting a head start.
I don't know why I want to go in the House meeting. But why did you start in the Senate and not in the House?
Well, first of all, the opportunity presented itself. The former senator from Beaufort County was a guy named Scott Richardson, and he had been there for 10, 12 years. He decided to take a job as a Department of Insurance Commissioner, so he resigned from his position. And another person who was in the House at that time from Beaufort County, Catherine Sipes, ran for the Senate and won, but she was only going to serve the last 6 months of Scott Richardson's term, and then she was up for re-election. So it was relatively still an open seat. I mean, she hadn't really established herself as a senator yet. She didn't have the connections with the constituencies that really benefit incumbents. I felt like that was an opportunity for me. I considered it basically to be an open seat, and so it was a level playing field. It wasn't like I was running against somebody who had been in there for 12, 16, 20 years. And so in politics, and look, I did a poll before I ran for that state Senate seat, and it showed I had no chance of winning. It showed that, Tom, nobody knows who you are in Beaufort County. You've got 5% name ID. There's no way in 4 months' time you can get that many people to know you and then run. But having, lived in Beaufort County for 25 years, I thought that if every day I went out there and held a town meeting and went out there and held coffees and talked to people face to face, that I could get my message out. And I did that. I worked hard for 91 straight days, and I ended up beating her 56 to 44 in the primary. So by and large, it was where the opportunity presented itself in the Senate. If there had been a vacancy in the House, I may have started there. But I'm very happy where I am right now, and I think we're making a difference. Anything else? Yes, sir.
My name is Ben. I'm 14, and after high school, I intend to go to college somewhere. Why did you oppose tax breaks from Amazon, given that Amazon would create over 1,000 new jobs in South Carolina?
The reason I opposed it is this, and it goes back to what I said earlier about picking winners and losers. Government kind of stepping in and deciding who ought to benefit, who ought to get special treatment. Let me tell you what the Amazon deal was about. Every company, and if you buy something online right now, if you buy it from a company that has a physical presence in South Carolina, if they have a building or physical presence here, you've got to have sales tax collected. The company needs to collect your sales tax and remit it to the Department of Revenue. If you buy something from an internet company that's outside the state and that doesn't have any physical connection here, that company doesn't have to collect sales tax. You're supposed to report that sales tax yourself when you file your taxes at the end of the year. Not that many people do that, but that's what you're supposed to do. What Amazon wanted was saying, okay, we understand that's the law, and we understand that all companies that are here and have physical presence here who sell on the internet, they've got to collect sales tax. We're going to have a physical presence here too, but we don't want to collect sales tax. We liked not having to collect that 6 or 7%. It allows us to have our prices lower, and it helps us compete against other stores. And they wanted to change the law. They wanted to change the law to have it say that even though we now have a physical presence here, we wanted a special exemption that doesn't require us to collect sales tax. That fundamentally puts it at a competitive advantage to every other store that's out there that's selling the same thing Amazon is selling. Whether they're selling it in a store or whether they're selling it online. They've got to collect that 6 or 7% sales tax from the consumer, whereby Amazon would not be able to. That allows Amazon to have a price advantage, and I just honestly don't believe that government ought to give preference to one company over another. I don't think that's fair morally, and I don't think it's good economic policy. I mean, look at, again, what I said. It's gone from $34 million in special breaks in 1998 to $523 million in 2008 to over $1 billion a year in special breaks now. The more special breaks you give away to large companies that have the ability to ask for them, guess what? Everybody else pays higher taxes. I mean, because somehow that money has to be raised to pay for schools and roads and health care and things of that nature. So every time you're talking about exempting a company from paying or collecting taxes or giving it an unfair advantage, you're hurting somebody else. And let's talk a little bit about the jobs that are created. And the best example I can give is this, is again, last year in Beaufort County, there was a bill that was almost about to be passed that would have given a company called Sembler $175 million of taxpayer dollars to create a new shopping mall. And their argument was, well, this is creating 1,200 new jobs, so we ought to do it. Well, then I asked the state's chief economist, well, where are those jobs coming from? And he said, well, they're coming from the other stores that are in that area. They're going to come and leave where they're currently working for retail operations, and they're going to come to work for the new mall. So I'm like, so there's no net new jobs? And he said, no, because retail is a finite amount of money. People only have a limited amount of money to spend. And if you direct them to spend money in a certain area, they're not spending it in other places, which means those places are going to lay off jobs. One of the things you never hear, okay, 1,200 jobs created for Amazon, how many jobs are going to be lost by companies that can't compete? Because they don't have the same price advantages, they don't have the same tax breaks, and they have to lay people off. That analysis was never done. There was never any economic study done to say, okay, 1,200 people will be working for Amazon, but who's going to get laid off at other businesses that can't compete anymore? That was never done. So we never got that side of the story. So that's essentially why I voted against it. Actually, I didn't vote against it. It got voted down in the House. It got beat 71 to 54. It never came to the Senate. I mean, the bill never got taken up in the Senate. But if it does come up in the Senate, I'll vote against it for those reasons. It's in a small column.